to it.
And
And
we're
okay,
live. Yeah, I'm as real as it comes.
oh my God, I'm getting the butterflies.
I'm nervous. Two of the best that's ever done it around here.
I haven't felt like this since I was a little girl. I'm telling you.
Well, I was just in Vegas, so
Oh,
I
really?
lived my life. Yeah, I was just in Vegas. I had Thundercade, so shit was real.
Is that a shoot? You were just in Vegas?
No, I was really in Vegas, bro. I was just in Vegas.
For James Ford?
Me? No, I was really like in Las Vegas. I just was there like a week or two ago.
But I thought there was somebody that we know. Like there was a big group of people that just went to Vegas that we know for a bachelor party.
C4's I think his wedding thing was.
Okay,
what's the proper term for that word? Bachelor party.
Okay, and I have shared it on the Facebook. All right. If you're just now tuning in, this is the very short pre-show. We are going to be starting the show in 1 minute.
This is exciting. I feel like I'm on a Pat McAfee show. I'm excited.
Oh my God, the pressure.
Yeah, right.
We're Joe Rogan here.
Let's get the ratings up.
Or if you're in the wrestling podcast, Conrad Brooks. Have you ever? Not Conrad Thompson. I'm sorry.
Conrad Thompson.
All right, it is 7 o'clock. We will go ahead and run the intro, and we will be live on episode 2, Travis DuFour Show. Here comes that mother-loving intro. What's up, guys? Welcome in. Travis DuFour here for the Travis DuFour Show, Season 2, Episode 2. Thank you guys so much for following the show. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you name it, at the DuFour brand. And without any further ado, the guest for this episode, longtime friend, never met him in the ring, but that's okay. We'll talk about it on this episode. It is Black Lightning.
Thank you for having me, Travis DuFour. And that's a good start, man. Yeah, we've never actually got in the wrestling ring together.
And dude, and that's a shame, man. That's such a shame because, I mean, I feel like at the height of my wrestling ability was the same time you were killing it. You were the champion. I was brand champion for a company called Phoenix Pro Wrestling based out of Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And it's just the stars never aligned. We never had a match.
But yeah, the timing just wasn't right. But I felt like I know we would have stole the show for sure if that opportunity ever came around. You did get some good matches with my big brother, Sherrod Hall, though. So those were good to watch from the sidelines. I love those. But I was in the middle of the Shane Malice feud, so things were real sticky then.
Hey, let's just go ahead and jump right into that because that's one of my favorite stories. I think like episode 3 of my show last season, I was chronicling my whole wrestling career, and we got on the topic of my grand championship title run. And man, I'll never forget it because Sherrod Hall was at the curtain. He was watching, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this was the night Black Lightning took on Shane Malice in the cage.
Oh, yep, sure was. That was the same night. Classic, man.
And it was. Sherrod was standing at the curtain watching you guys do your thing, just killer spot after killer spot, and the crowd is eating up every last thing. And I'll never forget it. Me and Sherrod have already planned out our whole match. And he just kind of is glancing over at me and he's like, oh man, did you see that? And then something else happens. He's like, Jesus Christ, did you see that? And then I'm like, okay. And then he's like, okay, Travis, let's add this to the match. And I was like, fuck you, Sherrod. No. We've already got the whole match planned. You're going to fuck me up. I'm going to forget something. And me and Sherrod went out and did our match after you guys tore it down with the cage. And we just told us a psychology-driven story, and we had the crowd in the palm of our hands too. And it's just
because a match like a cage match is hard to follow. And I always say, like, if you put me and Shane Malice on the card together, I mean, there's magic. Before, we even touched the ring. I mean, I've watched Shane since he was a little kid. We basically grew up together. So watching him turn into this, I mean, phenomenal superstar up and down the East and West. I'm so proud of him. I mean, we have our moments where I'm like, man, Shane Malice gets on my fucking nerves. But when we step into the ring, I mean, you could just feel it from my side of the ring to his side of the ring. And the crowd it's always, they're ready to go. They know what they're going to get. We're going to beat the living shit out of each other. That's what you get when you get me and Malice. There's nothing more, nothing less.
And to the credit of that area too, there's a lot of the fans that you see, the same fans every single show, and they've watched Black Lightning for years, and they've watched Shane Malice for years, and you guys have had at that point been killing it for years, and then being put in the cage on such an elevated stage. I mean, and you grew up with Malice, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm to a point where I remember when Shane Malice had like a Chris Jericho type t-shirt on. He might have been like 13, 14 years old. And he had this blue hair. And he looks into the camera and says, I'm going to be the greatest wrestler that Johnstown has ever seen. And I'll never forget that. I mean, I probably have it on VHS somewhere. Probably Randall Fairway has it. He has it on. He says he's going to be the greatest wrestler. And watching his come up, it's a hell of a story to tell. I mean, I watched him go from abandoned churches where that's when I knew he was the man. Inside the abandoned church I came in, I wasn't actually wrestling yet. I was sitting there looking in the pews. I was from the pews, excuse me, and he was in the ring, and he was just being a ring general. He's coaching this guy, coaching that guy. And I'm like, I remember when he said he was going to be the man. And honestly, that's kind of what pulled me back into wrestling, seeing him come and I'm not the man anymore. I don't really wrestle. You know what I mean? So seeing him take charge, and it was like, I got to get back in the ring with him, and we're going to make magic. And 3-4 times since then, it's always been magic. That guy's something special, man. He deserves a lot of credit for wrestling in Johnstown area.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, whenever AON ended and there was kind of like this, from my understanding, like this blow up in the area where there was a split side that was like half of the wrestlers were going this way, half of the wrestlers were going that way. And I got a call to go have like a pre-show match with two dudes I didn't know. So I'm
glad you brought this up, because this is kind of how we met. AON shut down. We really didn't meet each other, but AON shut down. I heard about Phoenix coming. They were saying about the new talent. They were talking about the Starlight Gaze, and these people were taking over. And me sitting back from the sideline, I'm pissed off. Like, what do you mean? Nobody called me. And I don't think we ever brought this up, and we're going to do it now since we're live. I actually had a spout with either you or Tyler Caton. Now, I didn't know which one was which at the time, and I was like, well, in my mind, I'm thinking, it was just an internet, back and forth. But I remember I was like, well, one of them's the same size as me. So if I see him, I'm kicking his ass. And that's what it's going to, I'm like, I'm whooping his ass. He has no chance. But I think the real argument was really between me and you. And it just went back and forth because they were telling me how talented this guy was. And I'm like, well, I'm the man still. There's never not going to be somebody bigger than me. And I think we had like a little internet back and forth. And then it ended there. And then we met each other in Phoenix, and it was all about business.
I'll go ahead and clear that up for you now. Your deal was with Tyler. You were going back and forth with Tyler.
I would have whooped his ass, bro.
And after hearing the stories, because whenever Phoenix started and I showed up and they were telling me, oh, there was this group of guys, one of them, this dude named Black Lightning, man, he was a fucking short fuse. I was like, I heard a lot of stuff about Black Lightning, but I made a couple statuses because Tyler like hit me up and was like, hey, this fucking dude from Johnstown, I guess he used to wrestle with those guys. He's starting all kinds of shit with me. And I was like, fuck him. Like me and you are boys. Like fuck him.
That's what's up, man. And honestly, when I met Tyler, see, it's even better now. Even when I met Tyler, I mean, since day one, he's like, I need you in the ring. That's another one. It's never happened. But since we actually, nope, never happened, never crossed paths. I mean, everybody was always kind of on their different paths. When I first came back to Phoenix, I was coming back because, it was something ISP asked me to do. And he said there was going to be wrestling in Johnstown. Like, dude, you got to go help this company. Like, we know what you bring to the table. He's like, once people get to know you, they'll trust you. They'll trust anything that they put you involved in. They can trust you. And I was like, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to earn everybody's respect. And I made sure that I did that. And I made sure that I had great matches. I made sure I had great stories, which is more important to me than the actual match. If I could put together a good story that make non-wrestling fans get involved, and not like just the non-casual fan, not somebody who's watching it every Monday, Wednesday. And I want to suck in people who don't watch it at all. That's always been my goal.
No, you definitely always come across as a performer for the fans. Like that is who you care about at the very end of the day. Now, real quick here. Okay. Now, did you have to fight to get into Phoenix Pro Wrestling? Because I remember whenever people were like, there was some chatter in the back. They were like, oh, I think they're letting Fairway in. Oh, shit, here comes ISP. And there's all these guys who was not allowed in this company at the beginning. We ran for 3 years. You guys were never seen. And then they were like, oh, now Black Lightning might be coming. And then, but I was told, like, these guys are going to be on their P's and Q's. They're going to be respectful. Like, just give them a chance. Like the owner, AC Norway, he was like, just give these guys a chance because we're trying to build up the crowds around here.
Yeah, well, man, I'll kind of like, I'm a full-blown tourist. And I'm stuck in my ways. So when ISP and Randall went back, I was still just, nah, I'm good, man. I don't want to be put in any situations that I don't want to. It's a controlling thing, but I know it's always for the best of the business. So I'm like, I don't want to be put in any bad situations. If I'm going to come back, I'm going to come back, and I'm coming back to really do this thing. So after like a year of actual Randall and ISP being there, ISP had a bad situation come about, and just man to man, that's my best friend in this entire world. And he asked me, like, man, like, there's going to be wrestling in Johnstown again. Like, what you mean to the area and to wrestling. He's like, all I'm going to do is ask you, man, I want you to go back. So I went home, I thought about it, and I asked a couple other wrestlers, and I mean, there was guys like Nostikov, Psycho Fusion. They're like, dude, like, they need you, like, and the people want you, like, it's so I said, you know what, I'm just going to call AC. I called AC. We had maybe a good half-hour conversation, and it was never negative. It was never, I said, hey, listen, I'm coming back. You know what I bring to the table. You know what I mean? It's never been about money. It's never, like, honestly, I just want something for these kids in this area if they can't make it in football or they can't make it here, I want them to have another outlet and be who you want to be, because that's exactly like something I got to do. And not a lot of people really get to be exactly who they want to be. Now, have I made it to the WWE scale, something like that? No, but every day, everywhere I go, I mean, whether it's kids on school buses, everywhere I go, I'm being acknowledged as Black Lightning. It's no longer just, Larry Burke. And I mean, random people that I don't even think pay attention to wrestling. Hey, man, you deserve that Hall of Fame thing they done for you. They seen my grind. So, like I said, I called AC. I think he knew, he can hear it in, like, yo, I'm going to come back and I'm going to help this company. I'm going to do whatever it takes for you to sell tickets. It was like, and I was like, I don't want no problems with nobody, because we all, at the end of the day, have the same goal. And that's being the best we can be. We want to be entertainers, and we don't want to let each other down. And that's one thing, when I come into it, I'll never let nobody down.
So do you think that it was kind of like a maturity thing? Like you're just getting older at this point and you're just more mature and it's like, all right, it's not, I'm not going to be, it seems like, and I don't even know like what the drama was back in the day, but it's like, this is going
Yeah,
to
I
be
actually
different
wasn't
this
even
time.
really a part of that. I only got pulled into the drama because of how my character started to explode when it wasn't really supposed to be. Maybe we'll get into that another time on actually where I actually came from. But that's I wasn't really into that drama. I mean, there was some it was just basically it was 30 people on one person. So who's the actual drama? You know what I mean? And that's kind of where all that went. Now that coming back, I guess it was kind of like it was a maturity thing. And when you get to a certain age, you still got it, but do you still have it? And it's like, you know what? I better do this now while I think I still can, or I'm going to be trying to fight down the road to get back in the ring, and it's not going to be the same whatsoever. So, I mean, I just was like, yo, I'm going to go help this company. I see what I feel like it needs help in certain places. So if they listen to me and if I listen to them, I take some of their direction. I might not like all their ideas and how they run things, but if I can just, what I mean, give my ideas and make it all work together,
Yeah,
we
do
got
your
something
part,
special.
make
Yeah, that's
this
it.
stuff. Yeah.
It's always do my part, no matter what.
Yeah.
That's what it's always going to be. That's what it's always, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so okay, so kind of backtracking here, let's talk about the early days. How did you even get your name, Black Lightning?
Oh man, it's okay. So as a kid in Randall Fairway's backyard, they always just called me Lightning. You know what I mean? It was just Larry Lightning. So it was just always Lightning. And man, it's a funny story. You know how it always goes. I was working at a hotel, and I was working with a white guy. And you always know something crazy is about to be said when they say, "I don't want you to be offended." So I kind of look at him, and I kind of look at him like with that look, and he's like, "Now hear me out." He was like, I like this wrestling thing you do. He was like, "But have you ever thought about calling yourself Black Lightning?" And I'm like, it just never came to me, nothing like that. So as I was going home, I was trying to figure out how to build this Lightning character even more. So I'm telling this buddy of mine who's making outfits for me and stuff. I'm like, man, I want you to put something down my pants. I want a t-shirt. He's like, well, what do you want it to say? I'm like, I don't know. Let's look online. Well, we look online, and honest to God, man, the first t-shirt that pops up, it says Black Lightning. And
Oh wow.
I looked at Harry, God rest his soul. I looked at Harry and was like, that's my name, Black Lightning, Larry Burke. And I said it a couple times. And that very first show after that, I remember I came out and they called me Black Lightning. And I still remember you always hear that one guy in the crowd like, I thought his name was Lightning. And you kind of do that look like, no, it's Black Lightning. And honestly, that's where BL came from.
See, whenever I was really young in my teenage years and I was doing the backyard wrestling and all that, and we were all trying to figure out our names, our monikers and stuff, I was always like a fan of like Kurt Angle. That's a real guy. That's a real name, but you have The Rock and you have Triple H and all these
Mhm.
other names and stuff like that. Did you ever kind of think about, hey, let's think of, you're not, did you ever think about going by your real name?
No, like I don't know. I just don't see Lawrence being being a wrestler name. I think Black Lightning makes you forget that I'm 5'4". You know what I mean? I love the whole what I turn into something completely different.
The
I love that.
package.
Yeah, I love that I can be Larry, and in a matter of seconds, I can be Black Lightning. I love the whole switch. So no, I do. I think that fits for certain guys, just like the traditional name and you know what I mean, just the traditional gimmick. I mean, Kurt Angle's definitely. I'm glad you brought him up. One of my top 3, 4 of all time.
So okay, cool. Well,
So
yeah. Whenever I had like a stage name, I went under Trey Blaylock for about 6, 7 years. But then once I started hitting the gym and I started really like training every week, a lot of days out of the week for wrestling. I was like, you know what? If something ends up happening to me, like if I get on WWE or if I get a TNA tryout or something like that, I want to go by my real name, because you can't
take my rights away. You can't take my rights away.
Yeah, exactly.
This is mine. So yeah, I can see it. I always just thought that Black Lightning I don't know. I've never seen myself. I mean, you know, obviously I emulate a lot of The Rock. I mean, that's my guy. But no, I do like those solid names. I just love everything about the wrestling business, because what you can turn Travis DuFour at home into the ring, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I really like your stance on having the name. It is all about the package and all that. So you're saying that you were inspired by Kurt Angle. Who would you say is like really the first wrestler at like a young age that really pulled you in, made you like capture your imagination?
Oh man, I was a hyperactive kid, man, and so Ultimate Warrior was my guy. It was all about the Ultimate Warrior, just the music, you know what I mean, and everything about it. Now a little later in life, I'm like, he wasn't as good as I thought he was, but the character, there'll never be another Ultimate Warrior. Like, so I kind of went from the Ultimate Warrior phase, and then I had the real heel phase. I liked Ted DiBiase. I liked Mr. Perfect. Flair. You know, the guys that could talk on the stick, I was always sucked into them. Like, if you could talk on the microphone, you got me. That's period. I don't even care what you got going on in the ring. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys I'm like, I can't believe I liked them, but it was what they can do on the microphone. And
that's really cool, and that's something I can really appreciate about you is that anytime that we saw like a Black Lightning promo, it was always really structured and it was really good. But at the same time, anytime that we saw Black Lightning in the ring, man, you took some real risks.
Because that's what it's about, man. Like, I always feel like if you pay to see this, you took your time and your money. So I personally feel like I need to give you that $12 to $15 back. It's just been me since I've caught on to this sport. I'm like, I gotta be the guy. I gotta be the guy. I gotta, you know what I mean? I gotta do this. I want to wow the crowd. I want to, get suplexed off a cage, because, they're paying hundreds of dollars or to see this happen live, or, you know what I mean? Or they got it on Peacock or whatever. I want them to get that experience while they're there. Like, because, you see Mankind get thrown off the cage a million times, and, but to see somebody actually get suplexed off a cage, or I'm going to take a risk no matter what, man.
Yeah, I was just about to say that sounds a lot of like the Mick Foley mentality. He said that in a lot of interviews. He just couldn't help but he was doing the elbow drop off the side of the ring onto the concrete and all this other shit. Like, he was
to be honest, man, and this is one of the realest things I'll ever say, man. Every morning you wake up, you're taking a risk. So if you're going out there to perform for people, you know what I mean? Every move is a risk, whether it's a clothesline, a power slam. I mean, you're one move away from it never wrestling again. So if I'm never going to wrestle again, I'm going to give them everything I got. If I seen that and I think it looks cool, I'm going to do it, or I'm going to let it happen to me. Why not?
So what do you think was your biggest injury?
Honestly, never in ring. Basically, I had that sickness a few years ago, and that's honestly the only thing that's ever set me aside. I mean, I took some moves, and there's never been nothing, because I mean, this sport involves a lot of trust, and I always tell, the first thing I say is, don't be scared. No matter what it is, no matter what position you're in, just don't be scared. And so actual in-ring, there's never been nothing that I was like, wow, that was nasty. Maybe that move me and Sherrod invented, Purple Haze. We think we invented it. I've still never seen it anywhere, that powerbomb backcracker.
Yeah.
We might have to go into that at some point. But there's never been a time where I've been like, yo, that's bad. I'm not going to be able to finish. We're going to give it all.
Now, what is it about you? Like, are you double jointed? Are you like, have you always been flexible? Like, what is it?
I'm just passionate, bro.
Okay.
I'm just passionate. You know what I mean? I'm just passionate
Oh, yeah.
about what I do. It's there's, and I just never lived with fear, man. Like, that's just something that's just never been installed in me. It's just like never live with fear. I honestly, I give that to like Coach Schleich. Like, he was a gym class teacher, man, and just his way of going about everything. It drives a mentality into you that honestly you should be able to take it forever wherever you go. I thank Coach Schleich a lot, man, because in school, man, I was a fuck off, man, but
Me too.
he's seen how much I loved wrestling. And I mean, he tried to get me to school. That's all he had. Man, you love that wrestling. You should do this. And I'm just like, it's not really my thing. I don't know if it was because I was like already a skinny mini and I just didn't want to wear the tights. I don't know what it was. And I probably actually would have been good at it for my weight class. It just wasn't my thing. But like I said, man, just having Coach Schleich there, and he just installs something. He was a different type of teacher, man. And I think every student that he ever came across, he influenced them in some way. Now, all their lives might have not went the right way or wherever, that's life. But he always, I mean, he never looked down on people. He always seen potential in people. And when he's just coaching you and doing certain things, you just start to get this fire. And I take it with me wherever I go. So I thank Coach Schleich for a lot, man.
Man, that's so dope. People underestimate that. That's why whenever wrestlers have like their kids at shows and stuff like that, I've seen so many, because I've been in the business 16 years. I remember a lot of these kids being in the ring before the shows, and I'll get in the ring and I'll just pretend to whip them off the ropes and I'll like do dumb shit with them, and then years later they'll come up to me and be like, "Man, do you remember that?" He was like, "That was so fucking cool of you, dude."
Oh man, that's what it's all about, man. Like seeing all these kids, like the Shane Malice's kids getting older, and and I remember Shane Malice's son, man. That boy, if he ever steps in the ring, that dude, he's the next best thing. I can almost guarantee it. I mean, he's going to be better than Shane, and I mean that's what we're really trying to do, man. At the end of the day, we want our kids to be better than us, and I mean I seen that in Shane Malice's son a long time ago. He would get in that ring and Shane be whipping him around, and I'm like, man, it's going to be something to see when we get older, because that's what we really built this thing for in Johnstown, is something to go on for years. And that's why I'm glad to see that it's back and rolling again.
Yeah, that's super dope. And just to touch on something earlier about like being like a crash dummy, flexible or something like that. I remember being a little kid, and I went to this daycare, and a bunch of the other kids, like I just didn't get along with them that well. There was just something not connecting between us. But there was one kid, he was a wrestling fan, and he invited me to this birthday party, and like I was like, okay, I'll go. But he had like this 2 stacks of hay off to the side, and for some reason I climbed to the top of it, and I asked all these other kids like if they wanted to see me fucking Jimmy Superfly Snuka off the shit.
That was your moment, right? That was your WrestleMania moment right there at that birthday party.
It was. I made friends with all the other kids. They were like, "Man, this guy's kind of crazy." And it's like I've always made friendships through wrestling, I feel like.
Man, some of the greatest bonds, I mean, has came through. I mean, everybody's seen me and Randall Fairway, you know what I mean? Like the things that we do in the mix of storyline. But honestly, there wouldn't be no Black Lightning without Randall Fairway. He just always, like I always say, man, I was like that annoying little kid that always came, but he still dealt with me. He still, because he's seen that I wanted to be something. And I forever appreciate them. That's why when moments like Thundercade come around and we can go in there and really get to be ourselves, it's big for me.
And like I told you in our private conversation, I was like, man, this is like a full circle story. And for some of the people who are going to be at that thing, like this is fucking special.
Well, I think that's what makes it so good too, because before I caught the sickness and stuff, we was building for a show at the War Memorial, and it was me and Randall Fairway, and we had great promos built up, and then obviously I was still sick, and I couldn't go on and do it, and it was really disappointing. And then for sitting around for 5 years, like, man, I know this would have been good. I know this would have been good. So then when Kes comes with the opportunity, like, hey man, you think you can go? And like, without hesitation, I'm just like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I can go. Not knowing if I could go or not. I was just like, the War Memorial, I've always wanted to wrestle there. Since I was a kid, I said, I'm going to wrestle in there. Like, all the greats wrestled in there. Hogan's wrestled in there. Andre's wrestled there. So, what I mean? You've seen the NWO there. You've seen Goldberg there. So I always said, I got to get myself in there. I got to headline myself in there. So when the opportunity came around, just with no hesitation, I was like, I can do it. And it's going to be something good. And I promise you, we're going to steal that show.
Because, dude, in the very back of your mind, though, because there's still that wrestler walking around, and he's like, dude, this is big. You could do that.
Oh, the whole time. I mean, for the last 5 years, man, I sitting at commentary now and, looking, and I'm just like, I can still do that. Like, I know they say I shouldn't, and I know they say I can't anymore. And some days I feel like I can't anymore, but I'm like, that's where I'm supposed to be. Like, I'm supposed to be in there. This feels good sitting here, but I belong in there. So once the opportunity came around, I just said yes without hesitation. And I said, I'll think about all the pain and everything later on. Just you won't be sorry that you gave me this opportunity.
Yeah.
So I'm still thankful for Kes and AC Norway and Emily and everybody that put Thunder K together and like trusted me in that position.
And one cool thing about Randall Fairway, one of the cool things probably about growing up with Randall. So like Randall's parents, I guess they were cool with him, like building a fucking ring in the yard.
I guess we had our dates. I mean, when I first went to Randy's yard, like, I just walk over and there's a ring. Like, well, in my eyes, it's a real ring. It's wooden pallets, rugs. I mean, you got pools in the ground, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. So what we would do is we would run shows every Sunday and Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and we would get kids from all over the neighborhoods. And I mean, it would be so insane to see how many kids would actually come to his yard to watch this. I mean, obviously it was in the Hornerstown area, Johnstown, but you would see kids from Moxham. And then, you start to see kids from the West End. So everybody knew about these little shows that we were putting on. So like I said, but his parents, I mean, they didn't mind it, but when Randy was fucking off, some days we would show up on a show day, like I said, it was Sunday or Wednesday, and you'd go walking up, and it's kind of a hill there, and you'd go walking up, and you'd look to your left where the ring would be, and the ring is there, but there's a big truck drove in the middle of the ring, and I'm like, God damn it, Randy must be smoking cigarettes in his bedroom again, but they were cool with it. I mean,
and this was the beginning for you?
That was the actual real beginning for me, is going over to Randy's yard and Randy just like pulling me in all the time. Like I said, I have so much respect for Randy till the day I die. He's always just pulled me in. Like I said, I was that little kid, but he knew I looked up to him. I got on his nerves day in and day out. I got on his nerves, but every day he would just let me come back. And when it came to championships and positions like that, he always put me in good positions because he could see that he knew I really had a passion for this more than the other kids. So he always just drug me along. You're my guy. You're my guy. You're my guy. When he started to expand from backyards and onto that stuff, he looked at me. You're my guy. I need you. And that's where it took off. Without Randall Fairway, honestly, man, and not a lot of people appreciate him the way they should, but without him, a lot of us would be really just kids from the backyard. Like, he helped me like become like somebody. And and I'm forever thankful for it. That he put a lot of his time, his money. I mean, this stuff takes tolls on relationships and stuff like that. Like, so you got to be very careful with what you're doing. But he's always put all of us first, and he's still that way when it comes to the business. He's always going to put you over. He's going to put that guy over. He's going to do the best thing. He's always going to put other people first, man. And that's one thing I can say about that guy, man. Forever thankful.
Now, whenever Phoenix started and everything, in my downtime, sometimes I'd like look into like AON videos like in my downtime, and I'd see Randall Fairway, and every promo I saw come from Randall Fairway was fucking so good. And then they told me he's coming, and they were like, and the gays are probably going to work with Fairway and ISP right out the jump. Now I was hyped.
It's money. And that's what Fairway, he never the most talented. I mean, now he's gotten himself in great physical shape. He's never been the super most talented, but he always knows how to put that guy over, whether it's with the microphone or once he gets into that ring, he just, boom, like a whole new athleticism comes out of him. I'm like, man, I didn't know you had that in you. And I've known you since I was like 6 years old, bro. So there's something special about him. And ISP, man, man, you want to talk about, I've watched this guy from day one. Honestly, that's kind of like, we've been best friends since the first time I sat on his couch. And I want to say that was back in 2006, maybe.
Is that when you met ISP?
It might have been 2006. It might have been a little later than that. But
you guys were lifelong.
Yeah, right around 2009. Right around 2008, 2009. We actually met, and I knew from the first time I walked in. I mean, there was people saying stuff about him because nobody really knew him from a can of paint. I didn't know him. Randall didn't know him. He was another guy who wanted to wrestle in this area. And I mean, I'm hearing whispers about him because, that's part of some of the shit we deal with in the business as whisper. Hey, this guy might be dangerous. He's a little bit aggressive, and he's this and he's that. I'm just like, whatever, man. I'm going to do what I'm told. So I went to his house, and the very first thing, and we opened the door to his house, and the very first thing I noticed was I looked straight ahead, and I seen a New York Giants lunchbox. And I was just like, ugh. I was like, New York Giants. And he like looked at me. He was like, what? You must be a Raiders fan. And I'm like, Raiders? And I'm like, what would make you think that? And I'm like, well, I'm a Cowboys fan. And he's instantly like, what the fuck have I gotten myself into? And then as I was looking around his living room, I seen probably like 200 or 300 wrestling DVDs. And I'm like, these people are telling me he's dangerous. And I'm like, no, I bet you he's a genius. And the more we got to talking, and I mean, we met before Ring of Honor was really a big thing. So he's showing me Ring of Honor videos before people even heard of it. And I mean, he's like, hey, so, and like, while we're watching some of this shit, I'm like, hey, man, like, I was like, I want to do that. And he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, can you hit me with that? And he's like, yeah. And so, I mean, we're putting together a crazy match that these people have no idea that we're about to do. So we show up to practice. We're just, trying to get the feel of things. We hit 3 moves, and they were like, whoa. Like, you know what? You guys are going to be late on the card. And from that point on, that guy is one of the best wrestling-minded people that you'd ever meet. You sit down with him for 15 minutes. I mean, he don't say much, but when he says something, you got to hear it. And he's going to put you – and he taught me a lot along the way too. Even though I was doing it a little longer than he was, he taught me so much, because he had different experiences that I didn't have. And he was just like, yo, look at it this way. Look at it that way. And we went from there.
So what was the situation like whenever the backyard wrestling days were coming to an end? Like, what was that like whenever, what was there somebody going pro? Was there like, what was going on?
Well, I guess there's a lot, man. I mean, there's some big names that's came out of this area, man. I mean, you know, like I said, there's your Shane Malice's, your Israel Sharif Fakors, your Randall Fairways, your big time Bill Colliers. That they came from this area. Now, you know, there's a lot of speculation that that's not what happened. I'm gonna shoot it to you straight, man. Whether they like it or not, we all came from the same backyard. We all came up together. We all had the same goals. Me, Randall, Bill, big time. But like I said, man, we got into the, you know, once we got away from the yard and got into the abandoned church, when people really started to take notice who we were, that's where things started to implode. It went from, you know, like, I get it, man. Big time Bill Collier, he put this show together. Randall Fairway, they put the show together. So you know how it is, man, and it's all around the business. When certain company guys run the company, holy hell, football's getting crazy already. Big time really didn't like the direction of things that was going. And
so he was like the first guy to like bring in a real pro wrestling ring.
He brought in the ring, bro. He brought in the ring. Like I said, I showed up a couple weeks after. I heard it was going on again, but I wasn't really 100% sure what was going on. And he brought the ring in. I mean, and like I said, man, in that abandoned church, we were getting crowds of 300 people easy. We were having to shut. The walls were sweating.
And what was this? JWA?
This was JWA. Yes, it was.
And what did that stand for, JWA?
The Johnstown Wrestling Alliance.
Okay, so why use the word alliance? What's going on there?
I'm not actually sure. I showed
cool.
up. Yeah, I showed up, man. They had this ring inside of a church. I mean, now we really got a real wrestling ring. And I'm like kind of mind blown. Now at this point in time, I still really didn't want nothing to do with wrestling. I was getting a little older. I was about 20 years old at the time, 38 now.
Now, real quick, was Bill and Randy, were they like, all right, if you're coming to JWA, you need to have boots, you need to have gear, you need to have amateur shoes, like something.
Honestly, man, it was we were still backyard. We were kind of going with the flow. We were learning. Now, Bill at this time already, he's progressed. He was doing other he was actually doing real companies.
Where did Bill go to train?
I want to say he might have trained with like Troy Justice and Cato, those guys.
Okay, you know, those guys trained a lot of guys. Yeah,
they trained a lot of people, man, and a lot of talented people too. So Bill was like being trained by those guys. So he was actually on a higher scale. We were just yarders, me, Malice, you know. But he was kind of like teaching us stuff along the way. But he wasn't being a real teacher. Once you started to learn more about the business, he was just giving you enough to get by. He wasn't really teaching, you know, this is shine, heat, hope, come back, take it home. He was like, you know, this is how you put your match together. You guys got 10 minutes, go out there and do whatever you do.
Is he kind of like, oh, that hammerlock looks like shit, you know, maybe you do it like this, but it's not
strong. I mean, if you weren't really one of his guys at the time, I mean, he shoots it straight to you. And like I said, man, we were all kids who grew up with each other, so we shot it straight to each other very, very often. And like, I mean, there was times, I mean, he got on other guys, man, this looks like shit. I mean, but that's what you're supposed to do, man. If you want to build something, but you should have also been teaching us a little more at the time. So JWA went on for about 8 shows. We had 8 shows. And I mean, it was awesome, man. It was an awesome time. I'll still never forget those days. I mean, like I said, a lot of us went different ways since then. But those are times I'll never forget. And again, those times, that's where Black Lightning really took off in the JWA.
Now, me and you have pretty much lived the same lives. You know, whenever I was backyarding with the carpet padding and all this stuff, you know, it's pretty soft. Now, whenever I got my first experience in a pro wrestling ring, I mean, metal boards, a thin layer of fucking
very
thick,
thin,
hard padding. Now did that ever, because I mean, I'm telling you, my first couple bumps I took and stuff, getting rattled those first couple
Oh,
times, I was kind of thinking to myself, I was like, I don't know if I can.
well, with the ring that Big Time had brought in, it was more like, man, it was like laying on a king size bed, man. It was a lot more padding than what you think. You know what I mean? Now it wasn't the greatest of rings because at one point in time there was this metal bar that stuck out to one side. So if you went over that way, oh man, yeah, death was on its way. Honestly, ISP got like a bullet hole. That's kind of where we really, really first met in the locker room. He was in the back bleeding, and I'm just like, "Yo, are you good?" And he looked at it, and I'll never forget it, man. And he said, "Oh, it's just a flesh wound." And I'm like, "Holy shit! That thing's bleeding. It looks like a bullet hole." But yeah, so our first ring was actually like a pillow, and then once we got to AON, we actually got the steel ring and the wood and the thin padding, and so. But it was definitely like, okay, I could get used to this. It does. Yeah. I mean, you felt that wind get knocked out of you. You weren't used to cables as ropes, and you were getting the rope burn a lot. You're like, holy hell, man. So you're like, am I hitting the ropes right, or am I doing this? But once we got adjusted to it, we were like, yo, this is cake.
That's dope. That's so dope. And now, I'm kind of learning about the history. Like I know a good bit from talking to the guys from back then and all that. I didn't know that JWA was only 8 shows. So how long was it until AON came? Was it like a year?
It was about, I want to say it was about it took about a year for the process. One day, same guy, man, Randy comes to me, ISP, Psycho Fusion, and he's like, listen, man, like, I think I can really make this thing happen. Like, but I need you guys. You know what I mean?
Now, was Randy the promoter?
Randy was the actual first promoter. Randy actually, AON is Randy's. That's his baby. It was actually his first. So that's why there's like such a deep attachment to it, to those 3 letters, because that like Randy put a lot on the line for it, and I mean, and it put us in like major good positions from that point on. So Randy was the guy, and he's always stayed like like I said, man, it's never about him. So he kept it like under wraps and things. It was just like, yo, this is a show we put together and we're going to run it from there. And
now for anybody who doesn't know, in Pennsylvania, you actually need a promoter's license, and there's like a whole fucking process, and it's kind of tough to get a promoter's license. Now, did Randy get a promoter's license?
Randy went and got the promoter's license. I'm not sure everything he had to do some things to make that happen.
What do you mean?
I'm pretty sure like you have to almost like, I don't think it wasn't nothing for 20 or anything, but no, he really had to like put a lot on the line for it. Maybe like a house or a car or something. Maybe I think there's something. I don't want to talk about other people's money, but I think
they're doing credit checks and shit. Yeah.
I know for a fact our wrestling ring it would have costed $4,000, but we couldn't afford it. I mean, we're just a whole bunch of guys trying to put this thing together, so we had to finance it, and it cost us $10,000 altogether by financing the ring. So I
Where
mean,
did we get the ring from? Do you remember?
I'm not exactly sure where we got the ring from. That's a good question. That's one thing that I can't.
Because that was the first ring I ever wrestled in, was a high spots ring. I always heard, I think Monster Rings is the only other like real popular one that makes.
Yeah, and I mean, this is back in like 2009, so like things aren't like that big yet, man. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that's on us. Like we were a little bit ahead of our time too. A lot of the things that we were doing, we were further ahead of our time to make things happen. So. Yeah, I think we might have had to finance the ring. Then we had to make sure we had enough wrestlers to make this happen. But so many people trusted in Randy and ISP and Shane and Sherrod. Like we had this bond that we all trusted in each other. I mean, everything wasn't always to the heavens, because that's any business and in any familyhood. Things are difficult, and especially when you're dealing with 30 different dudes, man. You know what I mean? So, but it just, man, it took off so much faster than what we would have ever thought. I mean,
at what point did at what point did AON start, like, because from my understanding, one of the AON guys, I'm not going to say his name, but he said that one of the things that were going on at AON that he didn't like was that the merchandise. They apparently there was something going on with the merchandise, like somebody was making all the merchandise.
Okay, so that's a little bit farther down the road, after
a different owner.
Yeah, this is a different owner now. We took off so fast, dude. It's one of them amazing stories. We were at everywhere we went, we're just being known for this wrestling. I mean, boom, we got involved with Thunder in the Valley, which is now Thunder, part of Thundercade now. And this only happened out. Yeah, it's super huge, especially to us because we're only three shows in, and these people are coming to find us like, hey, we want to make this a big deal. So we went from wrestling in front of 300 people in the church to now we're starting to do indie shows. So we're still getting our crowds because people know us from the area. So we're getting our 200. And just for
anybody who doesn't know, Thunder in the Valley is the second biggest motorcycle rally in the United States.
Yes. And so on our fourth show, there's people coming to us like, yo, we want to make you guys part of Thunder in the Valley. So we go from wrestling in front of 200 people to thousands of people. Like it's mind-blowing how things just started to go. So, and as things ticked on, Randy eventually sold the company to another owner. We were struggling kids, bro. You know what I mean? We're putting these shows together with our money. You know what I mean?
And Randy's
it seemed like a better move for us at the time. At the time, it was a better move. It took a lot of stress off Randy. You know what I mean? It's a lot. He's doing the flyers. He's, promoting the shows. He's doing this. And any business, you got guys who still don't, to this day, don't want to share the flyer or go hang flyers or, set the ring up or do the necessary things that comes with it. Some people just want to. So, Randy started to get tired after a while. And, he still came to the same guys that he trusted in. Like, hey, man, I think I want to put it in somebody else's hands. Like, how do you guys feel about this? And, at the time, man, we're 23, we're young. And it seems like good business moves. I mean, we're getting to go to the point where we're going to be on TV every single week. And so it's like, is this a bad move? No, it's not a bad move because these people are going to move us to legit cable and, they're bringing merchandise. They're doing things that we couldn't afford for ourselves.
Now, who is they? Let's put a name to this guy.
Well, I honestly, I can't even think of it. What the hell
was his name? Jason?
Jason. It was Jason. Jason was the actual owner. I didn't know his last name. Jason bought the company. He owned Snap Fitness at the time, multiple Snap Fitnesses. So, you see somebody bringing money to the table and more opportunities. Now we're going to no longer just be wrestling in gymnasiums. Now we're going to be wrestling in like the Pascarella Center, which is another big building here. Yeah. I mean, we had a screen the size of the Titantron when we'd come out to the ring. And like, we're starting to shift the wrestling. Now we went from just Johnstown guys. Now we're starting to be known in Altoona and Roaring Springs. And so you're seeing the positives to this.
On paper, this looks great.
On paper, it looks great, man. And, but you're starting to take a toll on yourself. Now you're not just wrestling once a month. You're wrestling 3 times a month because you're wrestling in Johnstown. You're wrestling in Altoona. And you're wrestling in Roaring Springs. And you're wrestling in Clearfield. And the money's starting not to add up with what you're doing. I mean, we're thinking like, okay, maybe we're going to start making a little bit of personal money here. We're going to be making $20-$30. We're traveling. So can I make some hot dog money? You know what I mean? And you start to see that these crowds are still getting bigger and bigger, but there's no pocket. There's nothing for our pockets. We're still investing into something at the same time.
Now it just sounds like there's a reason why this Jason guy's a money guy.
Yeah, he's a money guy, and I mean, and don't get me wrong. He brought Kess along, and one thing, Kess, who's still around to this day, and he brought Kess along, and one thing that I could, and I'll stick to this to the day. When things were going sour, I always knew it was never Kess was the fallback guy. He was the guy taking all the blame because he had to make certain phone calls that Jason wouldn't make. And so people started to get mad at the wrong guy, and he was just the middleman. You know what I mean? But Kess, since day one, he came in with Jason, but he has always tried to be for us. He was keeping that TV show going. He was doing certain things, but guys starting to get egos, man. We all have them. You're supposed to have one, but you got guys who wanted hey, I want more, I want more, I want more, and it's like, are we
and
really?
It's like, how can you not? Because you're showing up at the building, you're seeing all this shit going on.
Yeah, and and I was one of those guys. I was kind of naive because I was so. This was all I've ever wanted. I wanted to be on TV. I wanted, I wanted to wrestle in baseball stadiums. So the things that they were giving me, I was content with. Did I want money and did I want certain things? But did I ever voice it? No, I didn't voice it. You know what I mean? And that's where things started to go sour. Other guys were voicing, but I don't think those guys were wrong neither at the time. I think about sometimes how they were going about it. I think they were wrong, but they also were right at the same time. So I would never knock none of those guys for, you know what I mean? Because we wanted more. I mean, it was messing up your home lives. I mean, you're away from some of these guys got kids now. I might not have a kid. So some of this shit doesn't affect me the way that it's affecting you. You know what I mean? But I didn't think about that at the time. You know what I mean? But I was always for, no matter what, the company. Like, I was always just the company. Like, whatever it takes not for this shit to be torn down, I'll do whatever it takes. That's why when it finally sank, I was the last guy on the boat. I was the last guy on the boat with a bucket, just nothing but holes in the boat. And I was still trying to dump shit out and trying to make shit right. And eventually it fell apart. But I mean, I always gave my honest effort for those 3 letters of AON.
Hey, and to be completely honest with you, if I grew up with you guys and if I was there, I probably would have been right next to you, because whenever I was growing up in the wrestling business, I did plenty of shows that did super well, and I walked away not even getting fucking paid. But dude, whenever you grow up on wrestling and this is all you've ever wanted to do, you don't really, like you said, you don't really think about that.
You get blind to certain things, man. And I was a little bit ahead of people. I was already selling my own airbrush t-shirts. And so I was still making my own money. So I wasn't thinking about other people's pockets. You know what I mean? Now I was thinking like, man, I got to jump in the car with somebody. I should have to give them $10, you know what I mean? To give them for gas, or, you know what I mean? Or so, and there was times like I personally was like, when I seen how bad things were getting, I was personally calling like Jason, and some people might not know this, but I was calling him saying, hey man, why don't we at least have like sub trays in the back, platters, so we can make food? Like, why are we still spending our own money? And like, there were times I personally went to him myself because I knew I was that guy right in the middle. I knew I had some heat because guys just thought that I was blind to everything else that was going on. But I was still like, yo, give these guys some fucking pizza. Give them something so they could shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like,
so what was the problem exactly? Was the payday shit then? So
I mean,
is that why we're trying to go to bat?
I mean, there was no pay, bro. You know what I mean? There was no pay. I can't think of one time. There was one time, but that's finally when the shit was sunk. And it was over, and we was at a baseball stadium getting ready for it to end, and Jason came around and he was like, well, here's your pay for tonight, and da da da. He's like, where's everybody at? And he's like, they're not coming. And I had to look him in the face, and he's like, what do you mean? He's like, they're not coming, bro. They're done with this. Like, I mean, we're being treated like little kids. I mean, there were certain things, man, that it was really disappointing. Like, our TV show, it went from a half an hour and then it went to an hour. So that like now more guys are getting matches on TV. So then when Jason got mad at us and when people were saying, "Hey, we want paid," he cut the TV show back down to a half an hour. So we had to actually split time, AON rundown for a half an hour, and then the other half an hour would be Snap Fitness videos of people. Bro, it was the most disrespectful thing. Like we felt like we're being treated like kids, man. Like we're like, wait a minute, like all we're doing is asking for some money. Like we get it. Like this TV show is fucking awesome. And don't get me wrong, there's 104 episodes of the AON Rundown, man, that I'm very thankful for. But now that I finally got to go back and watch them, some of the shows were pretty shitty, man. But we were giving our best efforts, and they were giving their best efforts too.
So real quick, before AON, Jason was not in the wrestling business.
Not at all. Just like the typical owner of most indie companies, man. Most of them never have any real knowledge. They just have the money to make the thing happen. I mean, and I still see it to this day, man. And you're always like, man, I thought you would put a better card together than this. And this isn't a shot at like nothing. This is everything. I watch all the indies. I watch everything in this area because I feel as everything is competition to me, man. I make it competition. When I go in the locker room before I go out, I say I lead by example. That's one thing I say. So it's all competition to me. So with Jason, it was all over the place, man.
So with Jason never being in the wrestling business, boom, comes in, takes AON. Who was his like right hand man who was like a wrestling guy?
Okay. So his right hand man was it was Kess. It was definitely
and so,
Kess Addison.
But Kess wasn't in the wrestling business.
Kess wasn't in the business neither, man. But he had, you know what? He had visions. He at least had a vision, and a lot of his vision just tied to ours that we had. So it was like Kess being there was the perfect marriage with me, Randy, ISP, and them. It was made to happen because he saw our vision and he was trying to make it happen for us. So that was his, but he wasn't like it big into wrestling neither. Or I mean, he might have been big into wrestling, but there was no, this was our thing, man. We literally, I feel like we literally pulled everybody in just because they seen the passion that we had.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely sounds that way. I mean, it's just so crazy because, like you said, there's a lot of stories like this. Any promoter that I've ever worked for that was not previously in the wrestling business, that just got some money, maybe a super fan, they've been the worst fucking promoters I've ever worked for. So, but
yeah, that's what I do need that.
So okay, so AON ends. One of the first times I remember hearing about you guys again, it's like a year later or something like that. Was the Stealth Bomb Wrestling. So let's talk about
man, I'm
SPW.
glad that you do your homework, man. This is what I'm talking about, bro.
Well, I just lived it.
Well, that's good, man. Verbal Quick, which is actually my manager. He raps with me when I come to the ring. Actually, my cousin. He's still seen that so much of us had this passion for it. So he wanted to try to figure out how he can keep this thing going for us. So he started trying to take the necessary steps to make it happen. And honestly, it didn't go that way, but it was he just seen we were passionate and he really wanted to try to make it keep happening for us.
But just kind of looking at the roster, I mean, you had Black Lightning, Randall Fairway, ISP. I saw a promo from Verbal Quick. I think there was like one other person. So like how big is this roster going to be?
Well, I mean, we were going to try to bring in everybody before, as the AON guys,
but no Phoenix guys.
We didn't have no intentions on none of that because we seen how everybody was going about their own ways, and we all had different directions in wrestling because, at that time, Shakara was still kind of popping. And I thought that was horrible. I mean, that's probably the worst thing that I've ever seen in my life. So like guys had that type of direction. So we were still going to go with our more aggressive, fast-paced style of wrestling because, like I said, we really feel like we were the first ones to really start emulating a lot of the Ring of Honor stuff. And
yeah, Ring of Honor, yeah.
So.
And that's very interesting that that you feel that way about Shikara, because it's like, because the other side of that, a lot of the guys at Phoenix, they would just talk about Shikara nonstop.
That was their thing, man, and they tried to bring some of that stuff to AON, and I think that's one reason why some of us didn't get along, because we're like, that's not going to work here.
It's like that. So you're talking about like that elevated comedy. Like invisible hand grenades, shit like that.
Yeah, it's hard, man, because like I say, man, we started a trend here way back when of being aggressive and being a certain style. So when you bring in this more animated style of wrestling, it's not going to get over as well, because this is what we built. People expected us, man, to beat the living shit out of each other, because that's what they've seen since day one. So and still, even when I walked in Phoenix, man, they pulled off like a Shikara-like stunt. And I remember somebody asking me in the back, like, do I want to be a part of it? It was like a zombies type thing. It was my very first show there. And I said, hell no. I said, and you know what? It didn't go over well, like we always told them, because it's Johnstown, because they've already had a built-up thing. It didn't go over well, but I seen that they were still trying to do their own thing, so I couldn't knock it. But I was like, yo, I'm going to bring this style back. And that's why I went into the promos and the style of stuff that I was doing at the time.
And just for the record, I want to put it out there, I'm not a fan of the Shikara stuff either. It was like the second Phoenix Pro Wrestling show we ever did. It was at a sci-fi, like a sci-fi convention. The Invisible Man had a wrestling match. Sasquatch had a match. There was a guy dressed up in a robot suit. They called him Sex Robot.
Oh,
it's like, a lot of the guys in the locker room would come up to me and be like, oh, dude, you fucking see the Sex Robot? And I'm like, that's ridiculous. And I hope I never fucking wrestle that guy.
I hope I never have no partner. And there's a lot of things, man. I'm like, I always see like different visions, and I'm just like, that isn't going to work anymore. Wrestling is like, it's to a point now where, I mean, like you see how AEW has taken it to another level. And I felt like that's where we were at the time. And I felt like that's what pulled a lot of people in, is we were an aggressive, fast pace. It was something that they really never got to see just yet.
Yeah.
So that's why we say we were like really ahead of time at that point in time.
Well, just like Triple H said in an interview a couple weeks ago, he said there's multiple different flavors of ice cream, and you got to pick the flavor. And and you know what? I totally agree. That's why anytime I did, like, and actually I did wrestle Sex Robot, I think like a year later.
So you did have the match.
But that's just because I feel like at the end of the day, there are so many different kinds of people who watch wrestling, and you're in 2022 or back in those days, 2013, 2014, you're really not going to be able to fucking satisfy everyone. So just give them a little bit of everything. And what I'm bringing to the table is that 80s old school storytelling, selling.
That's your thing, man. And it took me a while to get used to it. When I was there, I was just like, I'm just not into it. Like, and then the more and more I got to see your character and what you were doing with it, I was like, okay, that works for him. That's what he chooses to do. That's his best flavor. And that's what I was like, okay, now I was like, maybe we could actually wrestle. Because for the longest time, I'm like, I don't think we'd be able. I'm like, I don't think the ideas that I'm going to bring to the table is what he's going to want to do. And I'm like, I don't think I want to be that basic. But I understand the story we would have told would have made it gold.
That's very interesting to me, just because one of the longtime roster members of our group was this guy Kit Raff, and you had a bang out match with him. But that's exactly what he said to me. He thought that I was vanilla as fuck, but then he saw me work with Tyler Caton, and I was taking fucking multiple different kinds of Hurricane Ranas, and we were going bang, 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 and he was like, I just fucking didn't know you could do all that. I'm like,
Yeah,
dude,
I
less
might
is
have been
more,
somewhere
brother.
around the time that you got me too. Like I'm like, okay, see, he has chemistry with this guy. He trusts this guy. This guy trusts him, and they let it all on the line against each other. That's kind of like, I don't know. I have that connection with a couple guys, like me and Psycho. When I wrestle Psycho, man, I know the last thing I say to him, man, have fun, be safe, and let's whoop each other's ass. And me and Psycho are like that. Me and ISP are like that. Me and Randy are like that. Randy's more like, hey, man, ease up a little bit. He'll always tell me, like, man, you're getting the emotions getting the best of you. Ease up a little bit. I'm just like, hey, man, I'm hyped. But that's when I started to be like, okay, I see, because I'm always like, I want a little more out of DuFour and Sherrod. I want a little more. And I know you were hurt at the time. Yeah. So you weren't really able to always give your full best effort at that time. So that was just like, I'm just not seeing it. And then the more I was there, and then the more I seen how, like, okay, I'm different from this character, and he's this character. This is why he's this way. I get it. And it started to attach to me. And then we, like I said, we started to build a little relationship in the locker room, and we were great from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. For the record, completely transparent. Whenever they said that Black Lightning was coming to the locker room, I was like, okay, I was like, if that's what you got, because you guys have talked shit about this guy for years, but if you're gonna fucking let him come in, then let's just see what happens. And Rick, AC Norway, it was a 30-minute conversation I had with him, and he just put over you guys to me, and he was like, listen, it's going to be fucking different. And if it's not, they're gone, period. They're gone.
And I told him, I said, if I don't feel comfortable, I will honestly remove myself. But I'm honestly here for this place. And like, I made sure of it, man.
That you were.
Yeah. And still, man, if Phoenix was still running right now, you know what I mean? Because I was, in my mind, I was Phoenix till I died. I almost died as a Phoenix guy, you know what I mean? And I was cool with that because I was back around the guys and I built new relationships with guys, and Phoenix helped me. Help me get into other companies too. Mm-hmm. So that I started to network myself and get in places like West Virginia. And so I'm forever thankful for the opportunity of going to Phoenix because I knew I was going to give my effort and I was going to make sure that I brought the crowd with me because I knew that's one thing that I could do is I can help sell tickets. And that was most of it. I put asses in the seat and on their feet. That's what I always say, man.
So that's very interesting. So like JWA, AON, it's this bubble you're in right there. You're with the same guys. You're kind of traveling the same places, and then Phoenix Pro comes. So what was your first outside booking?
Was it UCW? Might have been.
Okay, and what did you think about that?
Oh man, it was amazing, man. Like, I think just because I got to ride down with two guys, Shane Malice and Zach Rain. Which Zach, man, that me and that guy, we became so close thanks to Phoenix. But I rode down with two guys I felt comfortable with. Man, there was guys that I've already took notice on the indies, and they actually had caught on to me too, like by the things that I was doing with Sherrod and with Shane. Some kind of thought. They didn't know how to take me at first because they seen some of my promos with Shane were kind of raw. But then once they realized how I was really just telling a story, I wasn't really making fun of gay people or anything like that. Once they understood that I was just telling a crazy story that I knew people would get sucked into here, then I started getting respected by guys that I respect. I'm like, oh, I like Nick Sicken and Vic Ramone at the time. And there was a lot of guys on that card, and man, they came in like, man, we couldn't wait to meet you, man, because we seen the stuff you're doing up there. And I'm just like, wow, I didn't think I was really making an impression like that, but I really was. And that's thanks to Phoenix, man.
Yeah, you're one of those guys where they probably, like you said, saw these controversial promos and stuff, but it's like once you learn that, once you meet somebody and you're like, oh, that dude was just blurring the lines the whole time. That fucking good worker.
Yeah, well, because man, I look at, you try to take what's going on in the world today and try to use it in every way possible. I try to sneak little lines in there just so, like I said, the unfamiliar wrestling fan will get sucked into. So yeah, I mean, me and Shane, I mean, me and Sherrod, there was points where I was acting like I bought his house, and I was just basically I created just the facts off of telling lies. I was telling lies and saying just the facts, and everywhere I went, people would just be like, "Just the facts." So I'm this big heel, but everywhere I went, everyone caught on to the catchphrase. And I took just the facts. And then, like I said, me and Shane had that crazy rivalry where, I was calling him gay, but I wasn't officially saying he was gay. And, I was taking videos and I was taking memes before like memes was really big. I was taking anything I could to just suck people in.
Modernize it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to suck people in and I'm going to do things that like, I was going to cross the barrier a little bit, but I was only focused on here while I was. So then once I started to realize like, you know what, I do got to tone myself down. So these other companies see that I'm not really a jerk outside of this. And that's what I said. The first guy called me up was like, man, who the hell? That was the first message I got. He was like, who the hell are you? And who's your opponent? And it was Sherrod at the time. He was like, this is phenomenal, man. I want to book you part of the show. And I was like, somebody really does finally, like, somebody wants to book me outside of here. Like, I got to do this thing.
Now, let me ask you this. Let me ask you an armchair booking question. Mm-hmm. If Travis DuFour would have taken on Black Lightning, who's the baby face? Who's the heel?
Man, it's you know what? Every time I've tried to play heel, I've turned face. The harder I went, the more face I turned. So you obviously have to play the heel, man. I'm the face. It's maybe down there you might get away with being face, but up here, nah, man. You got to come through me.
That's exactly how
I'm like Goro on Mortal Kombat. If you want, you got to come through me. I'm the John Cena up here.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that we totally see that in the same scenario. Plus, and I was thinking about this a couple days ago. Whenever I knew that you were going to be on the show today, I was like, I had to do for a Horseman, and like you said, you were a heel at Phoenix Pro Wrestling, but a lot of the fans were fucking all about you, man. The energy that you brought to the ring, just watching your entrance to the ring, from a fan perspective, it's like I like that fucking dude.
And yeah, man, like the harder and harder I tried to play heel, the more and more people liked it. So it just got to a point, man, where like I kind of just gave in and I just was like, you know what, they like you, like accept it, like don't. It's not a bad thing. I mean, I'm getting a reaction either way, but why am I fighting against something that's just be yourself, man? And I did. I love both roles, man. I love that chance to be an arrogant asshole. But I love, man, coming out there, man, seeing them little kids, man, just screaming and going nuts. And I'm just like, all this for little old me? And seeing grown adults and seeing, man, you know what I take most is seeing my friends in the crowd, man. Like, like I always say this, man, because they could be doing anything else, man. And them spending their time and their money, man, I take that and even if they came home and said, hey, man, that show was terrible, you know what I mean? Like, I look at them, hey, I gave my best effort, right? Yeah. So to see my friends there, man, I take that to my grave, man. If they came one time and didn't like it, they still gave an honest effort to spend their time and money on me, man. And I'm forever thankful for that too.
And just to tell a personal story relating to this, back years ago, I did a show for Phoenix Pro Wrestling. It was at a town like 4 hours away. It was really far. But a bunch of my local friends had a show in my hometown, and my best childhood friend, which we were all friends together, he could have just drove 20 minutes down the street and saw a couple of the guys, but he was my best. And he didn't even tell me he was coming after the show. Actually, it's during intermission. I'm like walking around and I just walk into my best fucking friend since childhood. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing here? I was like, a lot of the dudes that we grew up with are wrestling 10 minutes down the street and you fucking drove 4 hours to see me. Like that means a lot.
No, it does mean a lot, man, because like I said, you could be doing anything else with your time, man. And like, even like I'm over here at my man DJ Pumps the Dog Pound, man. And like Well, I'm in the dog pound right now. It's Cleveland Steelers tonight. I'm a Cowboys fan, but like I'm here, man. And like, his wife is really busy all the time, man. Really, really busy. Phenomenal hairstylist. And when I come over to hang out, and she's telling me about some of the promos, and he doesn't even know about the promos. You know what I mean? Like, she's like, wait, you didn't see that? And she's like telling me, and I'm like, man, I didn't even know you saw that promo. So that, like, it's the small stuff like that, just like, so you still see what's going on. You're running a busy life too, man, and I appreciate that with everything. Because like she's telling him about the promos. I think Randy stole my ring. He put my ring on, my Hall of Fame ring, and didn't even know. And she's like, yeah, that's his Hall of Fame ring. He had no idea. He's sending me pictures. I'm like, bro, you're a sellout. He's like, what? I'm like, that's really my Hall of Fame ring you got on. His wife had to tell him.
Now, I have a follow-up question to this next one. You spent most of your career as a heel, right? Would you say
most of it's face? I like toward the near end of man, I kind of had that 50-50 split, man. I was a heel for a long time there, and I was a face mainly through AON. Then finally, I was like, yo, I want to do something different. So I pretty much ended out as a heel there. I was like one of them really light heels, one of those things. So then, like I said, I tried to come back to Phoenix as a heel. So for that majority of the time there, I guess you'd say I was a heel there too. But
what do you prefer?
I love the heel. Man, I love being a heel. I really do. But I get stuck, man. It's stuck so hard, man, when no matter what happened, no matter what you do, the people still like you. So, and I mean, you get a different feeling, man, when you hear everybody just chanting your name, and it's something different, man. Like, I wish everybody could be a pro wrestler for one night just to see and just have that feeling. And they don't even have to wrestle. Just bust out that curtain one time. And that's a feeling, man, that it's so hard to explain, man. It's better than sex.
Now, if you're an introvert, you fucking hate it. But
I think this was the first time Thundercade, man, that I was like, I had butterflies. I was nervous. Because I mean, I didn't know what I was bringing to the table, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's been 5 years again. I damn near died last time, damn near almost in the ring. Like, I don't know what I'm bringing to the table. I just know I'm bringing, like, every piece of me. I'm bringing every piece of Kobe Bryant and Shawn Michaels that I feel that The Rock, whatever's inside of me, I'm bringing it to the table right now.
Now, I just had my retirement match about a month ago, and I'll tell you this, going out as a babyface after spending my fucking whole career as a heel, pretty much, if I could do it all over again, God, I'd really like to go out as a heel.
I mean, I guess I'm going to have to go out as a, because I'm kind of on my retirement now, so I guess I go out as a face, and I'm good with that, man.
And your match with Fairway was labeled retirement match, last match?
No.
Okay.
I guess we're here, so no. I mean, I'm actually retired now. I am at the moment retired. We did that. Like I said, it was something that I've always wanted to do. It was at the War Memorial. I knew it would help the company itself, the business in the area. So I don't want it to be over. I don't want it to be over, but if it is over, I'm finally content. I can finally say I'm content. It's hard, man, when you're a pro wrestler. You see guys out there at 70 years old, and it's a feeling that you can't stop. But there is a time for it to stop. Was it Thundercade? I don't know. Is there more coming? I hope so.
So we're saying never say never.
You never say never, bro. Because I mean, after being able to perform at Thundercade and performing to a high level that I felt like I did, I mean, there's still times I'm like, I could have did this better. And I mean, I've gotten so much great feedback from it. I mean, it's so much more positive than negative. So it do I want it to be over? No. But if if it's that time, I could sit at commentary and say, man, I had a hell of a match. I went out against the guy that put me in. I'd be content. But is there always somebody else that I'm like, yo, I one more time, or just maybe I need to wrestle that guy? I mean, I've heard whispers of me versus Reverend Ron Hunt. I mean, every guy in the locker room said they want to see that. And I mean, I would love to see it. I mean, he's the top guy over in, Eclipse, the partner company. I still, even on the sidelines, I feel like I'm a top guy over there. So, I mean, I would possibly love to see that. I would, your retirement's over, so I guess it's done. Tyler Caden wanted to always wrestle me. I think that could be a hell of a classic. Hell, Shane Malice, he's, I mean, is it time to, could we do it one more time? But we don't know, man. I would like to get back in that ring because that's where I belong. But if it's time for me to relax, I can relax.
Now we're gonna get into the reasons why this retirement happened and whatnot, and then the road to the retirement, what happened, the kind of a sad story coming up. But real quick here, just to speak on this, whenever I personally realized, because I can only imagine how you feel, how you felt, whenever I realized that my neck couldn't take it anymore and my body was kind of just fucking done, that was one of the most devastating moments of my life. Like this, I fucking love this so fucking much. It's all I've ever wanted to do. So, and I kind of even regret saying a month ago that, oh, this is a retirement match, because I fucking know I could do more. But I'm just respecting my colleagues, because I've had a couple colleagues come to me and be like, Travis, if you can't fucking do a match like how we think it should be done,
if I'm gonna be in the way, if I feel like that's what I always felt like. I never want to be in the way. Yeah, I mean, so if I feel like, yo, we can't have you on the card, I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? If they come to me, hey man, we need you. Do you think you can do it? I'll put some thought to it, and if it's the right situation and everything's perfect, maybe it'll happen. But right now, man, I like seeing AON expanding. That's one of the best things about right now is I can finally sit back and at least feel like they don't need me all the time. Because, you start to get to that point where you're like, man, this company needs me. And now that they're bringing in some good talent, some talent that fits this area, that would like this area, I don't feel like they need me as much. So, which is cool. I can sit back and I can enjoy and I can help you do what I'm best at, and that's putting guys in other positions and just being a team player. Just being a team player.
You're a hell of a talker. Put you in commentary. Perfect.
And I'm cool there, man. Like I said, I mean, I had to adjust to it, and it took away one of the guys' jobs, but we still felt that we always make sure that even in commentary, we're there to help each other. So me and X-Man will rotate. So it's still the original guys of Drew, Mike, and X, and we don't have a problem with that. Maybe Drew might step out and I'll step in his spot, and even with Owen O'Neill, I really love Owen. Owen, he's moved over to just sometimes ring announcing. So we found a way to make it work. And like I said, I feel like I brought another element to the commentary just by the hypeness that I bring to it. I was an actual wrestler, so I know what sucked and I know what was awesome, so I get a different, my blood gets pumping a little bit differently than maybe Mike's and X-Man's and Drew. And I mean, their blood gets boiling too.
So the road that led to the end of the in-ring career of Black Lightning, what was the beginning, man? Like, because I know that it happened a couple years ago now, a number of years ago.
Yeah, it was about 5 now. Yeah. So it was crazy, man. I wrestled Kit Raff maybe about it was actually probably the last actual match that I wrestled. It was Kit Raff, which was it was a good bang out.
Do you remember what month?
It was in December.
Okay.
I just felt like a little bit sick. I was at work with one of my good friends, and
Like a
I just
flu?
felt like really, really tired, man.
Okay.
So it was about time to get off work, and it was about 3 o'clock, and I just was. He was like, "Hey, man, what we doing later?" It was a Friday. I said, "Yeah, let's hang out, man. I'm gonna go home and take a nap, and once I get up, I'll call you." So, that nap turned into about a 2 or 3 day nap. I just like wasn't waking up. Like I remember it got to a point. It was like Sunday. Like I said, it started on Friday, and Sunday the Cowboys were playing. And my mom came to check on me, and she's like, you've been asleep for like 2 days now, like, and the Cowboys are about to play. Like, you might want to wake up and watch the game. I'm like, yeah, I'll wake up. Well, I went right back to sleep, and it went on for like 2 more days, and finally I got up, and I just felt super weak. I mean, my vision was like blurred. I was like stumbling around the house. So I was like, you know what? This is 4 days of feeling like this. I might need to go get checked out. So I went, got checked out. I went right back to sleep. No, sir, I went to get checked out. I woke up maybe 5 hours later. I was hooked up to all kinds of machines. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Oh, well, we think you got pneumonia, this, that, the third. Yeah. So I was in the hospital for like 2 weeks. Started like I got out around Christmas time, and I still kept telling them I just didn't feel right. Like, but I continued to go to doctors. I was taking medication, and time passed. So January goes by, February goes by, and I'm still seeing these doctors, and they're just like, man, you're not getting any better. And I was the legacy champion at the time. So, and I mean, the company Phoenix was good with me, man. They were like, man, something's not right, man. Take your time off. If you can still, keep your story going. And I was starting to build for Randall Fairway for at the War Memorial. So we were still doing whatever it took to keep the story hot, but I was still taking time off because I still just
so
wasn't.
You didn't really like know the extent.
No, dude, I'm walking around like normal. I mean, I'm still weak. You could tell that I'm weak, but I'm still trying to live my daily life,
And the doctors don't have any answers.
They have no real answers for me.
What the fuck?
And then I want to say it was late, maybe February. It was late February this went on. So now we're about 2-3 months in. And I went to see a doctor in Indiana, Pennsylvania. And he was just like, hey, listen, man, like, I can't keep giving you steroids. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't working out. Like, we got to figure something out. He was like, so listen, I'm going to give you steroids for 1 more week. And I want you to come in here same time next week. And I want to see how you're acting. So I took my medication for that whole week. I went back. I seen the doctor. When he walked into the office, I was laying on the table with my head down. And I still remember he's just like, hey, man, like, you don't feel any better. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what death feels like, but I think I'm dying. And he's like, listen, I can't do anything more. There's nothing more we can do. He was like, you need to go to Pittsburgh Hospital right now. Like, you need major treatment. So I get to Pittsburgh. It takes me like a whole day to get there. So I get there the next day. I go in, I check myself in like normal. I get a ride out there or whatever. And I check myself in immediately. There's like doctors coming in like, dude, are you all right? Like, how did you get here? And I'm like, well, I got a ride. And I'm like, I walked in here. And they're like, well, no, you didn't. And I'm like, I walked in here. They're like, nah, we don't think so. So a whole bunch of testing goes on. Finally, they tell me like, listen, dude, your heart is only pumping 21%. You're barely alive. Your heart's super enlarged. Your liver is shutting down. I mean, there was a lot going on with me. And some of it's a little bit of a blur, but most of it I was like, what sucks the most is I was awake. And like, I was like going through this whole situation while I was. So, I mean, there was times, man, I went into cardiogenic shock twice. I don't know if you know, man, but most people don't even survive cardiogenic shock once.
Wow.
While I was there. So I was in Pittsburgh Hospital for two more weeks I was out there. I started losing body parts. Basically, man, I couldn't lift my arms up and down. I couldn't walk because all the nerves in my body got shocked from the cardiogenic. So I just basically just lost the feeling. Like I could still feel things, but I mean, even laying in the bed, I would slide because I had no control of my body. So I would just slide. So they'd have to bring nurses in and put things under me to slide me back up. And then, I mean, I couldn't even reach out for my food, but I'm like totally wide awake and going through all the stages. It was just like, man, it was a crazy time in my life for legit like 2 weeks. And I had to like learn how to walk again.
So what was it?
I ended up with a disorder called polymyositis, which is very rare. It's a basic nerve. I mean, all the nerves in my body were shocked. So I still have like chronic pain all the time. Like my body hurts all the time. You don't notice it because I'm kind of swelled up on the inside. It's a very, very rare disorder. So like I even had to come back here and rehab for another week. So I was in the Pittsburgh hospital for 2 weeks. Then I had to come back here and rehab for another week, like basically getting my walk in motion. My equilibrium was off, so I would stumble if certain things. I went through a hell of a time, man. It's a hell of a story to tell sometimes.
Now, is this hereditary or what?
No, man. It's honestly, they don't know where it came from. I mean, I went through every stages, man. Like I was in this bed going through everything. I mean, I'm really young at the time, and I'm on a floor where the patients are 80 and 90 years old. So no lie, man, everyone around me is about to check out. And I'm just like wide awake, just watching my life flash because I'm just wrestling and I'm fine 2 weeks ago. I can walk 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Now I can't walk. Like, I'm having people helping me fucking wipe my ass for me, man. Like, I was like, man, these people really give a shit about you. They're wiping ass for you.
Whoa, man. And I mean, and you probably knew right then and there, right?
I no, man, because I had this drive that I had one doctor, man, Dr. Adam, man. He's seen like, I'm telling him like, man, I got to get better. Like, I got to get better, man. Like, I got to wrestle. Like, so they actually, man, the doctors were good, man. Them people in Pittsburgh, man, were like really good. He went home and did his homework on me. He was looking up Phoenix Pro Wrestling videos. And honestly, I remember him telling me, and I'll never forget this one. He said, you know what kept you alive for so long? That fucking wrestling shit you do. You're stronger than the normal person and you don't even know it. You're walking around here basically dying and you have no idea that it's going on because you're just like, hey, I'm not that sick. This is what I do. And I'm still going through tables in Phoenix. I mean, at one point, Randall put me through a table and I'm still in the mix. This is like in the mix before I went to Pittsburgh Hospital.
So they think that this was like an underlying thing for a while?
I guess it built up, man, because when I was working at the job prior to where I got sick at, there was like small things that was happening that I didn't realize it. Like I worked at a t-shirt shop and you used to have to spray the machine as the t-shirts go around as they're printing t-shirts. And sometimes I would spray the can and I would get shocks in my arms and people would laugh and I'd be like, something don't feel right. And they're like, man, that fucking wrestling's fucking you up. And I'm like, I wrestled 2 weeks ago. I'm fine. So this went on. I felt it building up as I was working at the American Eagle. Like, I just felt like things were normal. And then finally one Friday, man, it just all hit me like a fucking ton of bricks.
So was there who was you in contact with? Any wrestlers a lot of the time you were in the hospital?
I mean, honestly, man, most of the time, like I said, and I didn't even know how my relationships were with people in Phoenix yet. I mean, I've been around for a little while now, and I've started to like show that I'm there for business. But like everybody was hitting me up like, dude, what's going on? Like what's up? And I'm just like, I'm gonna get better and I'm gonna do this. And I mean, AC was like, hey, man, like, we're not going to strip you of your belt just yet. Like, we'll see where this goes. And, Kess was calling me consistently. And I mean, I'm in a major feud with Randall Fairway at the time. And like I said, man, we grew up together. So he's major. I mean, when I finally got back to the Johnstown Hospital, Randall was coming in sneaking me food that I wasn't really allowed to have. You know what I mean? And he was checking on me. And I remember when I finally had to forfeit the title, he was looking at me like, I don't even want to take this from you, man. Like, you work so hard to get it and you earn so many people's respect in the back. Like, I don't want to take this from you. Like, are you sure you're not going to be back? And I knew it, like, at that point in time, like, I got a long road ahead of me. Like, I can't breathe. I'm having heart problems. Like, I'm wobbly. Like, so, that doesn't make me safe in the ring. You know what I mean? And, people are worried about accidentally killing me at this point in time. So it was just like, I guess it's time to hang it up. And, like, Phoenix still went on for a little while there. And, and like I said, it started to detour and go to Eclipse and all that. And then I kind of just stayed away from it from that point.
And so then we, what was the process of you dropping the belt? Did you do it in the ring and all that, or?
No, man, I honestly, man, I'm so dedicated to the business, man. I honestly dropped the belt while I was in the hospital, man. I forfeited the title right on Facebook Live.
Like a Facebook? Okay.
Yeah, I did a Facebook video, man. I was still in, you know what I mean? Like, I knew it was over for me, you know what I mean? So I forfeited the belt. Like I said, Randall came and picked it up. And they had that show because, like I said, we were building for the War Memorial. And Randall came and picked the belt up. And he didn't want to take it from me because he knew how hard I worked for it. And, like, I earned you guys' respect to even be put in that position. So, yeah, I've just forfeited the belt. I mean, I try to give everybody as real as it gets all the time, man. I'm always going to be myself. So I just forfeited the belt right from the hospital bed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who debate on belts and stuff like that, but yeah, but it's true, once the promotion decides that you're getting the right reactions and you're doing the right thing, they strap you up. Yeah. I mean, unless it's like a politicking thing where you're kissing people's asses and stuff. If you're not that guy, then you're fucking
man. So, and I felt like they put me in a good position. They gave me plenty of time to try to get it together. I was like, I'm just gonna end the road here. Maybe I'll be together in a few months, and a few months turned into a couple of years.
So when was it first presented to you to have this program with Randall and wrestle him? What, just a couple months ago now?
Yeah, it was about a year-long process. Cass called me.
You knew about it a while ago.
Yeah, I kind of just told myself I can. Like I said, one day, Cass hit me up. I heard my Facebook go off. I see it's Cass. He's like, "Hey, man, we're gonna be doing an opportunity at the War Memorial. I know how big it is for you. How do you feel like you can go?" And like I said, without a thought, I said, yes, I can do it. You know what I mean? And he said,
you've been doing like the rehab and stuff over the years.
Yeah, man, I've been just trying to get myself back. Like, at that point in time, I was kind of just doing commentary, man. I was comfortable with commentary. And so I wasn't really like just focused on wrestling at the moment. It was like, you know what? I'm starting to get comfortable in this position. You know what? I'm content. And then Cass called, man, and he was like, I have 2 AON spots left, man. And he was like, I'm going to offer you a position first. And, and like I said, man, I've always tried to, I treat Randy and Cass the same. And I always will. And of course, Randy's always going to be on this higher level because I knew him since I was 6 years old. But when it comes to the business and then Cass gives me this opportunity, I'm just like, you offered me this, Cass, I won't let you down. And I can do it. And he's just like, okay. And so then he hits me back like, all right, you're going to be on my card. He was like, he flat out asked me, who do you want? And I said, well, I ended off with Randall. We was building for something and if I'm going to come back, I need to do it this way. And he said, You want Rand, you know what I mean? You want Randall, you got Randall. And he's like, any special stipulation, anything like that? I said, let's just go with the flow. Let's see how it builds. And so, yeah, for about a year, I kind of knew that like this opportunity was coming. So I was trying
How
to
did
build.
you train for it? Because they got that school out there now. Were you going
Well,
out there?
Well, I'll be honest with you, man. Me training the rookies helped me train. I didn't. I physically, man, I was kind of going with the flow, man. I know I can do this. I didn't want to hurt myself prior to it. So I was going in with the whole mind state of, I can do this. You know what I mean? Every now and then I took a bump just to be like, hey, this ring is, or I was maybe trying to set an example for one of the, you know what I mean, the future guys. But honestly, man, it was, I did a lot of that match on passion, bro. Like, and just in storytelling, because a lot of that match was, it was more storytelling than it was wrestling at the end of the day.
That's cool. That's cool. I know for my retirement match, this is stupid as shit. I quit smoking cigarettes 4 days, and then I did that match. I'm
Okay,
smoking again.
4 days. I quit Black and Milds. I'm smoking Black and Milds live. I quit Black and Milds for that week because I said, my God, man, like you probably shouldn't be smoking cigars. You know what I mean? You don't know what you can do. You don't know your heart rate. But man, I'm thankful for that match, man. I was thankful for the opportunity. Thank you, Cass. Cheers.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. That they did that for you. The Hall of Fame deal. Let's go ahead and talk about this Hall of Fame deal, and then we'll wrap up the show.
All right.
So who inducted you in?
The X-Men inducted me in. And
did you pick him?
Yes, I picked the X-Men. That guy is something special to me, man. When I was in the hospital, man, he made it his effort. If he didn't get there, I mean, he was dry. There were times I woke up and he was sitting there next to me. I built a super relationship with X-Man. I still remember I was one of the first guys that walked up to him when he came in AON because, you know, we were starting to build and now we got announcers wanting to do stuff for us. So I built this relationship with X-Man. So I was like, if there's one guy that, if it isn't ISP, because that's my best friend, it's got to be the X-Man. Like I said, we talk about anything random. We'll shoot each other random texts. And I'm forever thankful for him, man. He's such a good guy.
He's a good fucking dude, man.
And all of them. I mean, Drew. I built relationships with all of them in all different ways ever since the moment that they stepped in AON. I believed in them. They believed in me. So that, and yeah, that's been kind of like where the Hall of Fame came from. And that's
the Hall of Fame was it was done on an actual show.
Yeah, it was done on an actual show. Honestly, man, it's another it's thinking ahead. And I felt like we needed something for me and Randy to build off of. So I kind of went to Kess with this idea of how about we build a Hall of Fame? And this ain't just about me. This was about everybody that helped put into the AON over the years. I said, why don't we possibly make an AON Hall of Fame and guys who maybe didn't feel appreciated, who didn't get that money and those certain things that, you know, that didn't make them feel appreciated, you know, 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was cool seeing the Hassel brothers go in.
Yeah, man, and that was a personal idea. And they felt like, you know, that they didn't deserve it at the time. And I had to explain to them that they did deserve it, man. They put a lot into the AON at the time. And, man, some of their wrestling, it was so good. It went unnoticed back then. Their wrestling was gold, man. Eric Hassel, phenomenal wrestler. And then Eric and I can't even get him right. Jeremy went into his own storyline at one point in time. They deserved the Hall of Fame. And then we had Nikolai, who helped us build so much.
And was that it?
And no, and then there was Scotty Serco. God rest Scotty Serco. He was our referee since we were kids. And then once AON started to like really, really expand when he couldn't be involved as much anymore, he wasn't around, but he was our referee. You always knew Scotty was going to show up in his black shorts with his referee shirt. And And he was one of them first guys, man, who made two really, really, really popular. He'd have all the kids in the neighborhood saying two. And like Scotty passed away about a year and a half ago, man. But he was so important. He was so important to us in our come up that we felt. And Kesson, like those guys, they didn't really know him that well. But for them to still validate him and because that's how he knew how much that he meant to us. So for them to put him in, it means a lot to us. So when you look up and you see Scotty still sitting up there, and just knowing like, you know, we didn't forget about you and we appreciate everything you did for us is really big, man. And his wife getting to come and see that, or, you know, because she wasn't really involved in the wrestling days then, and his brother getting to accept the award for him and his nephew. It was good. It kind of brings a tear to your eye because he was a good guy, man. Sorry we had to lose him so early in life.
Yeah. No, we've lost a lot of brothers in wrestling. You've been in the business long enough. You see, it's one of the hardest things is watching the guys go.
Yeah. So the Hall of Fame thing, man, it just kind of came as a storyline idea, you know, to help build me and Randall Fairway, but also for the guys who just didn't feel appreciated. So hopefully, you know, you hear your Sherrod Halls get their Hall of Fame, and obviously your Red River Rebels, and I mean even guys down to your Nomads. They help. Your original Florida Thugs. There was people who there was your guys. There was your guys who maybe didn't feel as appreciated, or maybe they didn't get titles, or maybe they didn't get things that they wanted, but maybe hopefully down the line at every AON show, you know, your picture's above the ring, man, because that's pretty dope to see your picture up there and knowing that like everybody respects you, even the new guys in the AON who don't know me or didn't. They have a genuine respect for me just because they see that my banner's hung up there and everyone calls me the Hall of Famer. And you know what I mean? So that's why Thundercade's important, because I got to make sure I live up to that.
And mad respect, huge props, so much love goes out to AC Norway, man.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is
keeps this thing ticking, man. And Emily, man, Emily and Keith, and there's still a lot of people who keep this name that we built, that actually I came up with. I came up with the AON name, so it means so much to me. So when I want everyone to take that pride into it. So when I see certain things, I'm like, you came after me. It's kind of like the Michael Jordan thing. So I want you to live to a certain standard. So one day I could see you up there and appreciate your name up there.
Yeah. And the only people that I know of that talk shit about wrestling, like indie wrestling Hall of Fames, are fucking old, out of touch.
Bro. And because those guys, maybe they didn't get the respect level that they thought they should have got. You know, like I said, I've been trying to build this character and this name since I was a kid. So,
and what's really cool is that you're in the AON Hall of Fame. Do you know who there's only one inductee to the Phoenix Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Do you know who it is?
The Phoenix.
Right there's some trivia.
Oh, is it the Green Man? Because now I wasn't there. Okay, it wasn't the Green Man because I know he passed away, and I know he has a little bit of a legacy there. Is it DuFour?
I'll just tell you, it's Travis fucking DuFour.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna try to get my Hall of Fame over there too, man. I felt like I had a great year run, so maybe that run was good enough to get me one more to match this.
Phoenix Pro Wrestling meant so much to me, and I know that AC Norway gave me the brand, gave me the belts, and then I depression and you name it, life.
It did hurt me, man. Even though I wasn't a part of it when it started, I started to become, I started to build a brand there. I built Just the Facts there, and I built another lane for Lightning there. So when I seen how story direction was going, I wasn't really happy about it. You know what I mean? I was just like, I didn't see the vision of having two companies when I always felt like you take one and you just make it explode. And so I wasn't too happy about that storyline in, in the involvement, or, the ad of Eclipse and all that, because I felt like Phoenix was finally really on the road that it should have been. And then you tore it down. So, but, everybody has different visions and stuff like that. But I mean, they still found a way to keep, Eclipse a name now, and now AON's back. And, that's a brand that I'm like, okay, you got me forever now.
So Black Lightning and myself, we've lived through multiple spouts of wrestling. Whenever it was really hot, the low points, multiple different versions of wrestling that we've seen. We've spent a lot of time as independent wrestlers, you name it. Mm-hmm. But we will take one question from the chat right here.
All right.
The question is, what does Black Lightning think of the current wrestling landscape? However you want to answer that.
I think wrestling's going... I think it's going in the right direction because we have competition again.
Yeah.
I don't always follow both of them. I'm still a WWE guy because I'm more fixed on good stories, and I feel like I learn a lot more from the WWE. Now, when it comes to AEW, I think the wrestling is top notch. I still think they have a lot of learning to do, because I feel I'm an honest guy when it comes to that. A lot of those people are over in that company because of egos and certain things. So they're still trying to build their own path. I think some of those guys do belong in the WWE and in every country in the world. But that's not how they want their careers to go. And I mean, if you're cool with that, I'm cool with that. Because, I mean, there's some major talent in AEW. And, I mean, I would love to see them in the WWE scale and hold the world title over there, because some of those guys do deserve that. That's why it's good to have a guy like Jericho over there. Yeah. I think Jericho he's a full-blown genius. It's good to have a guy like him who can put anybody over on any occasion. And he's been doing that since Nitro.
To kind of put a big fucking negative cloud over this whole thing, I stopped following WWE in 2011, more or less because I didn't like my intelligence getting insulted constantly. So I just had to fucking stop putting myself through that. I was getting too upset watching their products. Stop watching. Now, AEW, I'll tell you right now, in 2019, whenever they came in, I was starting to get that fire again. I was like, oh, fuck yeah, here we go. Another billionaire getting involved in wrestling. But then they fucked up Cody Rhodes, and I don't like the mistakes that they've made, and I'm back to not watching any wrestling.
I mean, I go through those phases too, man. Like I said, once in a while, they'll get a good storyline or somebody that I'm like, okay, I want to see this matchup. So I go through those phases too. AEW, sometimes I'm starting to feel like they're getting a little bit too much talent now. So now you're getting so much talent, other people's getting X-named. And they got to find a way to channel that. And some of the storylines are a little to me. The wrestling, I mean, it's hard to take away from what they're doing, especially with the nuanced stuff that they're doing. And they're getting guys. I mean, I like that you can get guys like Orange Cassidy. Like, I love that. For some reason, it doesn't seem
for not being a Shikara guy, liking Orange Cassidy.
I got hooked on it. I know. I mean, there's a couple other guys over there that I'm like, yeah, I like that guy. But I feel like you could still be you could be progressing a little bit better somewhere else.
I just hate that AEW made me give a fuck about Darby Allin, and it's like, where is he? What happened?
I mean, I'm just glad Triple H and Steph is finally in control of things, so other people will be able to make a way. They'll fix things. They're going to fix things. I mean, Vince is old, man, and it's the old saying, man, an old white guy stuck in his ways. But but he knew when it was time to evolve, because he took the world by storm for a long time, and finally it finally got the best of him and everything else. So I think that WWE side of things will pick up eventually here. We'll start to see guys with more brain power in the back getting a little more control. So I think things will change over there. I'm just glad wrestling is good, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know what? Being an old school 80s fan and all that, I just have to realize that it's never going to be like that again.
No.
These high spot kids, the young bucks of the world and the Kenny Omegas and the fucking
I
boom,
see.
boom, boom.
Dude, I haven't gotten. I don't know. I'm still not in the Kenny Omega. He just doesn't do it for me. Is he good? Yes. I'm not into the Young Bucks. Yeah, are they good? Yes. I'm just not into it. I like the more serious stuff, man. I need sucked in. I need that Days of Our Lives type stuff. That's what sucks me in. So
Yeah.
and,
Me too.
I mean, there's a lot of talent, man. There's a lot of talent going around there. I'm not saying that they don't have talent over there. Maybe one day I'll get sucked into AD. I think I watched it a couple weeks ago, and I think that was only because Will Ospreay was wrestling, and I just wanted to see all the stupid shit he was going to do that was cool.
Yeah, seeing Will Ospreay in the United States, see what kind of presentation that they would have there. So, guys, that is Black Lightning's kind of view on current wrestling. We talked, man, a lot about the history of Black
We got
Lightning.
2 hours in, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we shoot for 2, and yeah, man, dude, it was. I feel like we got to peel back the curtain a lot about the history of kind of Johnstown's pro wrestling scene. And,
I hope so.
And that's very cool. And I just wanted to thank you once again for coming on to the Travis DuFour show.
No, man, thanks for having me, bro, man. Hopefully one day maybe we'll cross paths in our old 80s match. Maybe down the line, maybe like 2040, we'll have a good traditional basic wrestling match.
Yeah, to kind of give the hot scoop here, I am doing stand-up comedy now. I'm not good, but I'm trying. But my feet kind of maybe an unrealistic goal. I don't know. I'm gonna see if it happens.
Hey,
if I end up making it in comedy, I am coming back to wrestling.
Hey man, if it makes you happy doing it, do it, bro. I love comedy, so I definitely want to check you out. Maybe give you a couple pointers. I'm all about a good stand-up comedy. So, hey man, if you're passionate about it, do it, bro. I don't know what's next for me. I don't know what my real next passion is. So, I guess it's AON until the end, and I'll be cool with that.
And if you can learn anything from Black Lightning and Travis DuFour, the same message is follow your fucking dreams. If it's something that you want to do, man, do it.
Be passionate about it. Take it serious. I mean, if you feel like you can get in the ring, go do it. I mean, if you want to do hair, be the best at it. Do whatever you want to do. Just be the best at it, and nobody can stop you. That's why I got to this point right now, is because I just always woke up and I believed in me. Even when I felt like people didn't believe in me, I believed in me, and it's going to be like that until my casket door closes.
Hell yeah. All right, guys, I will see you in episode 3.
Thank you for having me, bro. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. I try to be a little bit interesting.
No, I think that was phenomenal. Thank you again, Black Lightning, and I will see everybody on episode 3 of the Travis DuFour show. Remember to follow Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
Follow Travis, please. That's my
guy.
guy.
The DuFour brand, please. All right, and I will see you next time.
And that's just the facts.